Okay, good morning. Today we're going to continue on with the synthesis, and this is the first FRQ you'll see. So remember, I went through my cheesy omelet metaphor. Writing the synthesis is kind of like making a 3-egg omelet. Okay, you want to have at least 3 sources. You want to integrate them into a tasty argument. Forgive the pun, the cheesy metaphor. This is from 2007, so I'm going to attach it and ask you to pull up the first page. 2007 was the first year they switched over from the old exam to the new exam, where they added the synthesis. And again, the logic is they wanted college freshmen who were testing out of freshman composition to have practiced writing an argument where they had multiple sources and they had to sort of evaluate the sources and integrate them into their own argument. And they called it synthesis, because you're synthesizing multiple sources and your own ideas into a cohesive argument. So if you pull this up, it'll take about 1 minute to read the first page. I would not read the directions on the day of the test. The directions will be the same on all of them. I would go straight to what is labeled the introduction in this part. Okay. Television has been influential in the United States presidential elections since the 1960s, but just what is this influence and how has it affected who is elected? Has it made elections fairer and more accessible, or has it moved candidates from pursuing issues to pursuing images? You know, how good do they look? Okay. As opposed to where do they stand on abortion, okay, funding the police, or capital punishment, or the economy, how to fix it. So has it moved them from pursuing issues to pursuing image? So you want to make sure you kind of understand. The intro is just to sort of get you thinking about the issue, the controversy, if there is one. And then you go down and look at the assignment. Okay? Remember, I made the joke AA, answer the assignment. So you read the following sources, including any introductory information, carefully. Then in an essay that synthesizes at least 3 of the sources for support, member 3-egg omelet, take a position that defends, challenges, or qualifies the claim that television has had a positive impact on presidential elections. Okay, so these are the key words here in the instructions. You're defending, you're saying, yes, TV's had a positive impact. If you're challenging, you're like, no, TV has not had a positive impact on presidential elections. And if you're qualifying, you're doing a Rogerian argument. You're saying, yes, it's been positive in some respects, but no, it's been negative in other ways or other respects. Okay, so for the purpose of our walkthrough today, we are going to say challenge. Okay, TV has had a lot of adverse effects on presidential elections. Okay. And if you go through the sources, you'll see they're kind of stacked that way. So that's one of the reasons that I'm going to challenge. So again, this is just a list of the sources. And then my goal for my students is for them to be able to read through the sources, okay, during the reading time in about 7 or 8 minutes. Okay. Maybe 10 if they're a slow reader. Okay, because they're giving you 15 minutes of reading time. So if you can get through, like a minute for the directions and then a minute per source, okay? And you're looking for what I call nuggets, okay? Just like we were talking about the omelet, you want nuggets of bacon or nuggets of avocado. So not necessarily a whole paragraph, but a nugget. A nugget, like, oh, it's the direct and sensitive link between Washington and the people. That's a good nugget for conceding that TV is good for giving that link between Washington, D.C. And the people during an election year. So we're looking for nuggets. So I have this template, and I'll attach it as well. It's basically a template for you to put in your hook, okay, put in your position, and copy and paste concessions. Remember, we have to cite our sources. That's important. And then nuggets from the sources in support of my position. And again, we are going to challenge that it's been positive. We're going to say that it's been negative or adverse. And then I have a spot down on the bottom of my template for outside knowledge. Okay, so if you remember watching a recent presidential election debate or a presidential election related commercial advertising, Trump or Harris or Biden before that. So that's where you put the outside knowledge. So this is just a quick template. And during the exam, obviously you won't have my template, but you can just kind of think like, okay, I'm going to try to hammer down my thesis. I like to start with a concession, then my claim. Usually I'll tell my students, start with although plus concession, and then give my claim. Okay, that way I demonstrate to the AP reader I've looked at both sides. I've looked at the positive sides of presidential elections and TV. And then I'm going to give my position saying it's overall adverse. And then just think, I can copy and paste concessions because you're front-loading concessions. So those are toward the top. And then toward the bottom, I'm going to put my nuggets in support of my position. Okay. So that's an easy way because you'll have an opportunity to copy and paste them. So if you go back to the document, we've already read the first page. We've already established our position. We're going to challenge. And then you want to read through the sources and look for those nuggets. Okay. So the first source is from Angus Campbell, Has Television Reshaped Politics? Okay, so I'm going to look through that quickly. And just for the purpose of our walkthrough, we're going to go a little bit slower. And I'm going to give you time to read each source and then look for a nugget. So take a minute to look through source A and find a nugget. Okay, so one nugget I liked was TV does have a wide geographic distribution impact. Okay, so I would put Campbell in parentheses. You can put A, if you're in a hurry and you're slow at typing or whatever, just, you can put A, but I went to this conference and they said it's more sophisticated if you put in the title or the author's name. So that's a concession, okay? Wide geographic distribution impact. Remember before TV, people listened to it on the radio. Before the radio, they had to wait and see, is Roosevelt going to come in on the train this weekend and hold a rally? Okay. Like if you didn't live near the train station or a big metropolis where he might come in, like Philadelphia or New York City or something, then you had limited access to the presidential candidates. The Nixon-Kennedy debate might be something that you would use, okay, because that was sort of an archetype. If you remember archetype from the rhetoric terms, that was the first televised presidential debate, and it had a huge impact on the election, okay? And the sources are going to talk about that throughout this. You could also say it was a direct and sensitive link between Washington and the people. So you could copy and paste that one. So you go back up here. And if you see here, I put concessions, counter-arguments. So here I could say but is my counter-argument. And then I could add something. Okay, so I can do that later when I'm getting ready to formulate the body of my essay. Direct and sensitive link between Washington people. That's a good nugget to concede. Okay, so again, I could put A, or I could put Campbell. And I can fill in these counter arguments later. Okay. So let's go back to the sources and scroll down to B. Okay. This is from Roderick Hart and Mary Treese, U.S. Presidency and Television. So take a minute to read this one. And again, you're looking for nuggets in support of your argument. Our argument is that we're going to challenge, and we're going to say TV has had negative effects on presidential elections. And this this source supports our argument. So it's a good one to pull out some nuggets. Okay, so I think this one's pretty funny. Okay, so I picked out the serious and sophomoric swirled together. So I put that in here as my nugget. Okay, and I did a lead in here. Sadly, as a result of TV and MTV as an example, all texts, serious and sophomoric, swirled together in the same discontinuous field of experience. And I put Hart and Treese. So, and then I added there real quick, we really don't need to know such personal and private preferences of the presidential elections. There are a lot of good nuggets you could pull in this one. You could also say that this is a pretty good nugget. The presidents are losing their distinctiveness. Okay, so they're not really being judged as presidents per se, or potential presidents. They're being judged in the same way we judge movie stars and rock stars. Okay, so lots of good nuggets you could pull from this one. Computer is lagging right now. I also like the hyperfamiliarity breeds contempt idea. Again, I'm not going to necessarily quote the whole sentence, but that's a good little nugget. So copy and paste that one. Okay. And you can see, sometimes you're going to get a source where they just, it's like, oh, this source is like gold, okay, for my argument. So I'm having some technical difficulties copy and pasting my nuggets, but that's a good one. Okay, so let's scroll down to source C. This one is from Lewis Menand, Masters of the Matrix, Kennedy, Nixon, and the Culture of Image. So take a minute to read this one, and hopefully I can get my computer to copy and paste my nuggets. But this one is also going to be really good for our argument, challenging the benefit of TV when it comes to presidential elections. This one's all about the first televised debate between JFK and Nixon. Okay, so I am having technical difficulties, so I'm going to do this in 2 parts. Plus, it gives me more time to kind of go through the sources. But you can already tell from source A, it's pro-TV, and source B is anti-TV. And so that gives us a good idea of how to split up nuggets, either as concessions or in support of our position. Okay, so I will see you next time.